Hi, this is Brittany of BZ Art, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Cockatiel plushie. You can find the pattern for this in either my Etsy or Craftsy store for $7, and there will be links in the description. Also, word of warning, there are birds in my craft room who might make some noise, and I apologize in advance if that happens. But since we're making a Cockatiel plush, it's kind of fitting today. This Cockatiel pattern is an intermediate pattern. I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. You should have a comfortable knowledge of plush sewing before you start. A tip that I like to keep in mind when working with smaller areas such as the feet or around the feathers on the head is to do like I've done and cut around it and then sew, and then when you're done you can cut closer to the seam. It's just easier that way with the smaller parts. We're going to start our Cockatiel plush with the headpiece. I've pinned mine in place so that it won't slip. You'll want to align it on the top of the triangle cut out for the beak. Start sewing at the top and sew all the way down to the corner of the mouth. Then turn the piece so that the bottom of the beak aligns with the bottom of the head. And then sew to the mark where it stopped. You may wish to trim your excess seam allowance so that the beak lies flat. Next, we're going to sew this dart in the bottom of the head. Simply fold the headpiece in on itself and sew it up. Again, I'm trimming my excess seam allowance. The next part is to align the head of your cockatiel with the body. And then sew those together. The body has a slight curve to it, so make sure that you get that. It helps with the shape of the cockatiel. Now you've done one side of your cockatiel. Repeat this with the other side. After you've completed the other side of your body, the next step is to sew all of the limbs for your cockatiel. I'm going to start with the tail. And the tail, just start at the top, sew all the way around. And leave the top open so you can turn it right side out. Again, cutting the excess seam allowance off. This will help it lay flatter once it's turned. To turn the tail, I use a pair of hemostats. Finally, you'll want to sew a line right down the middle, just for some added feather detail. Next, we'll do a wing. You'll want to sew all the way around the wing. After clipping your seam allowance, you'll make a small cut on the underside of the wing. Be careful not to cut through to the other side. Through this cut, you'll turn the wing, right side out. Using a marker with air-soluble ink or water-soluble, whatever you happen to have on hand, you can even use chalk or just eyeball it. Draw your detail lines onto the wing. I don't eyeball it because I like to try and make them even. There, now you've got one wing. Clip the excess threads and repeat this process for your other wing. The next step, once you're done with your wings, is to align the belly piece with one side of the bird. Start at the neck and sew all the way around. Trim your excess seam allowance, and then you'll want to line up the other side of your bird with the other side of your belly gusset. You'll want to pin everything in place so that it stays nice. You'll also want to make sure all of your seams are aligned. Start in the back and sew all the way around your entire cockatiel. leave a space on the top of the bag so you can turn your cockatiel right side out. Then trim off the excess seam allowance. Then cut a hole in the bum of your cockatiel, approximately half the length of your tail, or width, sorry. Then insert your tail through the hole and out the bottom. I'm using a pair of hemostats for this. You'll want to get it so that it lines up nicely with the edges of the cut you just made. Try to lay this as flat as you can and sew along the edges there. Cut away the extra. Finally, at this point, you'll want to insert the eyes in your cockatiel. I like to trim my posts so that they sit flatter. Repeat this for the other eye, and then turn your cockatiel right side out. Once your cockatiel is right side out, stuff it. You'll want to make extra sure to get stuffing in the tips of the feathers and in the ends of the beak. Once that is done, we're going to close up the back using a ladder stitch. Next, we're going to attach the wings to the sides of the body. Place them where you'd like them to be, and pin them in place. This holds them steady for us, and it helps ensure that they are even. Then we're going to ladder stitch around our wings and to the side here, leaving the tips of the feathers open and free to wiggle around. With both the wings sewn on, your cockatiel is almost done. The last step is to sew the feet. You want to sew all the way around the feet. Now trim around them. As we did with the wings, we'll make a small cut on one side of the foot and use that to turn the foot. It would help if I actually made the cut I just said. This may be a bit difficult, but go slowly and work every toe out individually. It helps to have hemostats or something like a chopstick that you can use to poke it through. Next, we're going to stuff the foot lightly. For this, I'm going to use a stuffing fork, but if you don't have one, hemostats or, again, a chopstick will get the job done. To use a stuffing fork, you pinch the stuffing and swirl the fork, kind of like spaghetti on a knife. And then you just push the stuffing into place. Then you'll want to align the foot onto the body so that it will support the bird as it stands. Pin it in place, and using a ladder stitch, sew all the way around to attach to the body. Repeat this with your other foot.